Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was directed by Sam Raimi and stars Benedict Cumberbatch as the character of the same name, who after a series of events helps a young girl named America Chavez, played by Xochitl Gomez, who can create portals into different universes. Following the multiverse storyline that started since Phase 4, Strange later finds out that Wanda Maximoff, or the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, was the one who sent monsters after Chavez to take her power and be able to go to other universes to get her children back, since the events of WandaVision, and will stop at nothing to get that. In a battle with her, both Strange and Chavez are sent through the multiverse and then have to get back and stop Wanda before she finds a mystical artifact that can help her get what she wants, along with Chavez's powers. While Spider-Man No Way Home tackled the multiverse in a small and contained way, Multiverse of Madness goes all in with traveling to these different realities. Though I will say that they don't go to that many universes except for like one part where they quickly travel through multiple ones as a bit of visual eye candy, which is fine enough, but it would have been nice to see a few more, or at least just 2 more different universes. But it's definitely a fun skeptic. While this movie could be dubbed, like most Marvel movies, as a CGI fest that's meant to entertain kids and nerds, I think both this and the MCU movies do well enough despite having quite a bit of CGI. Sometimes it's definitely overused and very noticeable, so, give or take, that's a blessing and curse with these types of movies, but I think they're fun enough. Personally, I think the story for this movie worked fine enough and didn't have too many plot holes as you probably expect, especially from a multiverse film, which could obviously get very complicated if not handled as well, like a time travel movie. But I am thankful that this is at least the best Phase 4 movie next to No Way Home, because Phase 4 has definitely had its rough patches so far, and probably will continue to. If I'm going off of what I remember and what I really saw, I'd say the only things I completely didn't like and thought were weird would probably be the memory store in one of the dimensions, set in like a semi-future where Doctor Strange and Chavez come across a memory store as a way of sort of explaining Chavez's origin and all of that. A little silly, especially as a concept, but it wasn't as stupid as some people made it out to be. And Chavez's origin and catalyst for the first time she uses her powers is a little silly, but it wasn't as bad, but they definitely could have gone better with that. Like I said, those are kind of the only problems I really have so far, but I'm sure, really good YouTubers who do good movie reviews will go more in depth and do a better job. I'm very sure of that. I'm happy to see Sam Raimi return for a comic book movie. It's been a while since the Spider-Man trilogy, the original one, and I'm happy to see him back. I'm also glad he was able to bring his style, from all of his movies, like The Evil Dead or Darkman, because this is definitely the darkest MCU movie for the most part. Most of you might have heard, people talking about how this was supposed to be Marvel's first horror movie, I guess in quotation marks, from everything I heard, and in fairness, I'd say that it's somewhat accurate to an extent. It is definitely very scary in places, creepy with its imagery, definitely not entirely something for little kids. And it's not just, creepy imagery. This, surprisingly to me, pushed the PG-13 rating harder than Endgame with Thanos' death, because I'm gonna say it in a way that's not kind of spoilery, but there's a part where a guy gets his head blown up from the inside, and he like falls back, and blood coming down from his nose. That's pretty intense. Someone gets their neck snapped. Someone is cut in half off screen mostly, and another person is crushed with a statue. Plenty of other dark moments, but that's just some of the highlights for me. So I guess be wary for when you're like taking your kids to see it, especially little ones. It's going to be quite a trip for them. If we're going slightly off topic for a small opinion, I do kind of think that this movie was a little hated on a bit too much with some reviews that I saw. Maybe it's not all of them, but these were just some of the ones I looked at. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by how some review sites aren't always the best source, but I looked at like the New York Post for one review, and then I think the YouTuber's name was Critical Drinker for another review. I think they were probably just a little bit too harsh. They had some points, but I don't think it was that as bad as they were saying. Some of the issues that they mentioned were the fact that apparently America Chavez derails, the importance or screen time of both Doctor Strange and Wanda, which I disagree with. I think all three of them are in the movie almost an equal amount of time. In fact, Chavez, doesn't have as much screen time in the third act because, Strange is mostly saving the day for the most part, but in the end it's somewhat equal in terms of screen time. There's the typical complacency about the inclusion of some bits of diversity here and there, which I don't think it was really the typical pandering type of diversity that Disney usually does. This movie did it decent enough. There's barely much of it. Chavez has two moms, and apparently some people who are giving this movie shit were like making fun of the use of the literal phrase two moms, which sounds a little weird when you say it, but oh well, that's just how it is. Like, yes, you could probably just say your parents, but that's not really a problem for me. I feel like Chavez herself is definitely handled a lot better than what I've seen of the comic character, because from what I've seen, she's kind of a generic character, kind of just a combination of Captain Marvel or Captain America. And in this movie, she's a decent character, but she definitely feels like a bit of Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel into one character. But it's still funny because it's a whole thing about her in the comics, but they decided to make Miss Marvel a Captain Marvel fangirl in the upcoming Miss Marvel show. So it's a little weird, but I don't really know. I'm not a fan of either of those characters, but that's just me. I don't read as many Marvel comics, especially recent ones. Overall, the acting is good. There's plenty of great set pieces and moments that some fans will enjoy, and I definitely enjoyed. There's cameos from characters in some of the multiverse stuff that I liked and disliked, at least disliked in the sense that it just felt like a brief cameo and didn't feel like it was setting up anything big, but that's just how it'll be. You can't have everything. The one cameo I will talk about is Bruce Campbell as a pizza salesman or a pizza cart guy on the street in one of the dimensions. the universes, sorry. He did a pretty good job in being a bit of a comedic character, and it was great to see him too, as he and Bruce Campbell are great buddies and have worked on movies together multiple times, like The Evil Dead and the Spider-Man movies, where Campbell plays multiple characters in each of those movies as a brief character. And when we're on that topic, I'd also say that it's good to see Danny Elfman back at doing the score. He's also worked on Spider-Man with Raimi, which is nice. So I'm thankful for all of that. It's a good project with some cracks. I'm gonna give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a 7 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of this movie, and if the other MCU movies hopefully might be a little better than most so far.